There you go. Now you got it.
Okay, everybody. So, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. So the story starts out where there's a group of classmates that meet for a reunion. They talk about their lives and how they've dealt with problems and so forth. One member, Michael, describes how his company almost floundered before he heard the story and how his attitudes in the company turned around. And he proceeded to tell the story to the group. So I picked this book on purpose because, we're going through so many changes in the mortgage industry. I feel like, about every 3 years, my whole business is different than it used to be. And that's even like accelerating now. So it's like about every 18 months, our whole business changes. So I thought this would be a good book. So let's talk about, today we're going to talk about the story and the characters for a few minutes. And then the next session, we're going to talk about how some of these lessons apply to us in our everyday life, in our everyday business. So first of all, the main thing, the cheese. So who can tell me, raise your hand. So what does the cheese represent? Joe, tell us what the cheese, Joe McLeod.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so tell us, what does the cheese represent?
Basically anything that you want out of life that brings you that fulfillment. So yeah, it's, in this case, I mean, in our case, in this, it's getting, clients or whatever, right? Getting more loans through it, in the lending industry. But clearly the book states, and I agree with this, it can apply to relationships or whatever, it's universal. It's whatever you want in that situation.
Right. The cheese is all the good stuff in life, not just money, but relationships or whatnot. So we have two different groups of people. We have two mice and we have two little people that live in this maze. So what do we know in general about the mice? Tamara, tell us about the mice.
The mice are Sniff and Scurry, and they tend to just always be on the go, always looking for new cheese. They don't have the human developed brain to really think much beyond that. They just know they have to have cheese, and they're always out to seek it.
Right. And so their simple brains are really based on survival, and they don't have time to ponder all the emotional elements. They just either have cheese, or they're on the lookout for cheese, or they're going to find cheese. Right. So now the other group are the little people. So Misty, tell us about the little people, him and Haw.
Him and Haw, the little people they know they need the cheese, but tend to overanalyze or looking for other ways around getting it, unlike the mice do.
Right. So they're living like fear-based.
Yes.
So, they're thinking too much. They have the bigger brains, but it doesn't help them because they analyze the situation and they're living in fear and they're paralyzed by that fear. So let's drill down a little bit. So what's the difference between Sniff and Scurry? Are they basically the same? Joyce, what's the difference in Sniff and Scurry? You're on mute. You're on mute. You got to hit the button.
Sorry about that. I think pretty much the same. They're both very industrious. They're totally uncomplicated. They just kind of take a trial and error approach to life. And they know that they need to be industrious. They just need to keep going. Their brain doesn't kick in and start, questioning or overthinking or saying, what if? They just do it.
Right. So I think the way the story plays out is Sniff is the one that's always got his antenna up for new cheese. I mean, we can think about this as, a loan officer always thinking about new business. You may have gotten, into a real estate office that seems like a honeypot of sort, or seems like a cheese station C, but yet in the back of your mind, you're always looking, you're always prospecting, and you're always thinking about, what's going on in the industry. And the way that Sniff does is he's checking the cheese out, how much is left, how much is spoiling due to, I guess, the cheese going bad. And he's looking at the status of the cheese and staying on top of things. Okay, in my opinion, Scurry is one of those that's just a doer. Let's just do it. Let's not talk about it. Let's just do it. Everything's trial and error. Everything is shoot first, ask questions later, and maybe has a little bit of the shiny object syndrome, but of course, doing it even haphazardly is a lot better than not doing it. So he, in my opinion, falls under that category of not afraid to fail. Let's just give it a try. Let's just do it. I mean, we know people like that. You're telling them about something and halfway through it, they're like, let's just do it, So, okay, so the little people. So, Frederick, tell us what's the difference between him and Hall?
I would say that Hall was a little bit more originally resistant to change, but eventually after sitting in Station C for a while, he was wanting to just explore new options, and he was a little bit more willing to, I guess, test the waters, where him is very resistant to wanting to, explore anything. He, I guess, entitled would be a word that comes to mind in terms of, this isn't my fault that the situation is what it is, and someone else needs to come by and kind of fix it, like the market conditions, so to speak, need to change for me to, improve or get better, vice me needing to go out and kind of just flow with the changes in the market.
Right. So, Dawn, so is he just an idiot or what?
Well, that's not nice.
Is he just dumb? I mean, why is he not wanting to go look for cheese?
Well, I think that some people just get paralyzed with fear, right?
Right.
So it's not anything that's wrong with him. It's just that's the way that his brain has always worked, right? He didn't know there was a better way. And there's a lot of us that can relate to that, right? And you don't know that the cheese was moved.
Right.
Until you get there and you find out there wasn't any there.
Right. And he gets set in his ways. So I think it's important to understand. I mean, what I took from it is it's real easy to jump to the conclusion that mice are smart, little people are dumb. Mice are good, the little people are bad. But, I think that we all have a little bit of all of these guys in us. I think him is frozen by fear. We also, it's more comfortable for us to blame things on other people and not necessarily like our coworkers, but you hear it all the time. The rates are a lot higher now. So they'll say, well, Biden is an idiot. Well, it was Trump's fault before he left. He screwed things up. Oh, the Federal Reserve are a bunch of idiots, and meanwhile, we obviously feel like we're the experts on, the nation's economy and how everything should run. So, so we like to have those discussions, and sometimes they're fun, but once they cross the line of just a informative discussion into the blaming, and that's why my business is bad, is because of this other thing out there. Well, it's really irrelevant. It may be partially true, but it's really irrelevant. So that's the whole thing, in my opinion, with him. Is I'm not saying that his questions and concerns are dumb, but they're simply irrelevant. In fact, when you think about it, the title to the book, Who Moved My Cheese, the question you think is going to be the big question to get in, it's really an irrelevant question. It doesn't matter who moved it or if the dog came and ate it or whatever. I mean, you're still in that situation that you're in. So, so they're at cheese station C. Okay, and that's got a ton of cheese. Everybody's happy as a clam. It's kind of like when we had interest rates at 3.5%, or the Fed funds was at zero for Joey D, what it was a zero for like, I don't know, 5 years or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
right, long time.
yeah. So I
Long
mean,
time.
we're thinking, well, we're at the cheese station C with these zero fed funds, right? We got nothing to worry about. And then obviously somebody moved those rates on us, right? So what do the little people do? So they claim ownership of the cheese. Like a lot of people, with our agents, you hear the my real estate agent, but they don't have any loyalty to you. They have loyalty to the success of your relationship. But if anything goes south, those agents are not yours, so to speak, just like that cheese was not theirs. It just was there and they were eating off of it. And so the mice set off to find more cheese. They're not surprised. Who we got on the call? Lisa Blake. Why are the mice not so surprised that the cheese was moved?
I think because they used to always have to look for it, like that was what they did. They've always walked around, they always looked for it. So they just kept on that same mindset that they have to work hard to get what they want.
Right. And they kept tabs, right? Sniff would go around and see, how much cheese was left every day and the condition of the cheese. And so the mice are ready to go look for cheese. And they keep their sneakers like these, they keep them tied around their neck. So they're ready to go, right? So all of our, prospecting tools that we use and software and everything, we're up to date. We know that we're going to need it, if not today, tomorrow. But the little people, they're in shock. They're like, this is not fair. I mean, why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden I wake up and my cheese is gone. I mean, who the hell saw that coming? So they're also in a bad situation because they've put away their shoes, their running shoes, and they're not prepared at all, either mentally or actually physically. They're not pragmatic at all. So him feels entitled to the cheese. He wants justice. I want to find the person. I want to find the person that raised those interest rates, and I want to hold them accountable, right? So Hall suggested maybe we should simply stop analyzing the situation so much and just go find some new cheese. Oh no, him argued, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So they look for a shortcut. And what do? So they start hammering through the wall, right? So they don't want to face the fact they got to do like old-fashioned cheese prospecting. They're looking for a shortcut. If I can just bust through this wall, there's probably cheese like right on the other side of the wall. I mean, I'm victim of that too. I just signed up for a leads program because I'm thinking I can sign up for this leads program and then I'll get some loans and it'll be easy, right? And I don't have to go out and call on these real estate agents and bring them cookies or kiss their feet or whatever they want. So so I mean, I'm victim to that too. So they look for shortcuts. The strategy the mice use is basically persistence, positivity, and staying prepared. And that really affects all of us, that persistence, positivity, and staying prepared. What do they say, Frederick, in the Navy? Perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No, I do. Yes. I don't know the exact saying, but yes, I do know. But basically,
it has a lot of P's, and it just means to stay prepared. All right. So, so problems really, when you think about it, especially in our industry, problems create opportunities. And what do I mean? Am I just like, a glutton for punishment? No, but here's the thing, and Dawn will tell you this for sure, is if the loans go super smooth all the time and you ask people, well, how did Van Dyke Mortgage do? They say, it went fine. It was fine. I did the loan app and it closed. I mean, what am I supposed to say, right? But if there are problems along the way and the borrowers make those silly mistakes and they go lease a new car and they move their money around to 6 different accounts, which I have one now doing that, then and you have to overcome those obstacles, then it gives you a chance to look like a hero, a shining star, which a lot of us are, and which a lot of us really do have to work heroically to get these deals done, but nobody knows it if everything's so super smooth. So the opportunities give us a chance to kind of blow our own horn, or show us as overcoming issues or problems or so forth. So here's the big question. So did Hall overcome his fear? In the end, he started to. And it's not just the fear of starving, right? So he had a different fear. He also had that fear of going into the maze. What's out there? And we all kind of face this, I think, in our business, because we're afraid that, if we call on new customers, we're going to get rejected. And let me tell you something, if you make sales calls, you're going to face rejection, and you've got to have thick skin, but it's scary and nobody wants that. So you're like, okay, well, I'll just call on these 3 agents that I'm friends with because they're always nice to me. And I totally get that. I do that all the time. And there's some strategies we can talk about later about doing that. But yeah, so Hall had a lot to overcome, not just this embedded philosophy that he had, that he was entitled to the cheese, but that he had a fear of actually getting out there to look for it. But what happened is his fear of starving became greater. And a lot of times we had our initial success in this business because we had bills at home, our family that needed to be fed, and we were worried about food, clothing, shelter, whatever. And that fear was greater than the fear of some middle-aged lady with big earrings telling us she's not interested in doing business with us. So, that's where that comes in. Okay, so where do we leave the story? So right now we're at the point where Hall is starting to change. He's starting to realize the kind of the error of his ways, and that he needs to find the cheese. So we are going to end the discussion. I mean, does anybody have anything else to say? I do want to ask one other thing. So who can tell me, I can only see a certain number of faces. So let me see who else I can call. That they see some of these him and Hawes in their business personality. Patty Adamson, are you paying attention?
She had to step away, Stephen. I don't think she's right here.
Okay. So Richard Rubel, are you there? Okay, well, these people have to overcome their fear of the camera. So we will call on them next time. But yeah, so think about, who are you most like? Any of these characters are a blend of those, and that's the question I'm going to ask you next time. We're also going to talk about Hawes' evolution of how he became, frozen with fear to actually going out and having success finding the cheese. So thanks so much, everybody. I promise you I'll have my stuff together. Richard Rubel just came back. Richard, are you there? Okay, so Richard is catching us on the goodbyes. So we will see you next week, and I promise I'll have all my equipment up and running, and we'll have a really terrific discussion and wrap this up. Thank you, everybody who joined. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Stephen.
you. Bye. Stephen.
Thank you.